Well, hello and welcome to Parallel Leaders. My name is Tim, and today we're in for another episode. If I were to ask you how your organization is growing, you'd probably give me a number. And for churches, that number would be attendance. For businesses, it would probably be the bottom line or profit. We know that there are 8 growth points that every organization goes through, and when focusing on them, you can attain the best quality out of your organization. Today, we have another episode with Dustin Finley, who is the owner and operator of Valiant Solutions out of Calgary, Alberta. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Well, welcome, Dustin, to Parallel Leaders. It's so great to have you, Dustin Finley. We've been friends for a while, and you run a great company called Valiant Solutions. Tell us a little bit about your company and, man, all the crazy stuff, because you guys do some crazy stuff. So tell us about what you guys do.
We do. It scares a lot of people. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So we do exterior property services on high-rises, large-scale commercial buildings in Calgary. Pretty much we rappel off of high-rises and fix stuff, clean windows, and then have a whole host of rope access and high-angle stuff that we do for our clients. So, yeah, that's our business.
So the first question you ask somebody that's applying is, "Are you scared of heights?" That's.
We do, and we actually we've taken a lot of people from being scared to not being scared. So it's most people are just by default scared of heights. So
okay, so those who are listening who are scared of heights and want to overcome that fear, Valiant Solutions. There we go. It's the cure.
Absolutely, yeah, we can help you out.
Awesome. So we've had a number of conversations over the last number of months, and in particular around systems. So this month we're really focused on systems, and again, one of the 8 growth points of every organization is systems. Systems, again, don't grow an organization, but having inadequate systems definitely helps stop an organization from growing. So let's dive right into some of the questions that you have and about ideas around systems and how that works in your business, or any questions that you might have about systems for your business.
Yeah, totally. I have a lot of questions about systems. Being a service company, that's pretty much all we are. We're people and systems. So I'm really excited to talk about it. So my first question was, when scaling an organization by like a large amount every year, like I know you guys are doing with Parallel, and we've seen in Valiant is just like, doubling and stuff like that. My question is, what are some things to look for in your current systems, and in creating new systems, knowing that growth is coming and capacity has to be built for the future growth, without constantly rebuilding and recreating systems?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I think a lot of businesses are having to deal with, and how to do that. There's a couple of thoughts that come to mind when we look at it. One of the things that we do is that I study very carefully the seasons of growth year over year in our organization. And when I see that, for us, summer is kind of a downturn time for us, and I would assume with your business is probably a very busy time. But there's a season in your year or your calendar year where your business is not going to be as busy as it would be other times of year. So you're going to have those kind of off seasons or down times. And it's in those times that I focus on reevaluating systems. I don't focus on reevaluating systems when things are busy and crazy and all the rest of it, because a lot of times when you're reevaluating your systems, it's going to cause disruption in the organization, and you don't want to do that in your busy times, because that's going to disrupt the customer, that's going to disrupt your staff, and it's just going to cause extra chaos. So the first suggestion is find your downtime in the season, and then evaluate your systems there. In your busy times, it'll expose your faulty systems, and you're going to see that. But the natural tendency is, I want to fix that now, and I would again suggest, hold on, buckle up, do what you can to stop the bleeding, put the Band-Aids on where you need to put the Band-Aids on, but you're not going to do full on surgery in the business season. Your surgery time is going to come in the down times, but in the busy times, it's going to reveal you're going to see cracks. You're going to see where it exposes where some of your weak links are. And so basically take a look at that and see that. And then what I like to do is I like to take right before our downtime or right at the beginning of our downtime, I like to kind of get away with my key leaders and begin to ask a lot of questions about some of the systems and what's out there, and what's working, what's not working. And again, systems are all about movement. So where are we seeing a stoppage in movement? Do we have a systems problem when it comes to new customers finding us? Do we have a systems problem as far as retaining new customers and getting repeat customers? Do we have a systems problems on our delivery of services? Are we not getting there in time, and we're having where's our backlog and where's things backing up a little bit? And I think that's where you can expose that and ask questions and evaluate and get not just your feelings or your opinions, but get the people that are on the ground working and doing that, what their sense of feelings are. And if you have very reliable, close customers, you might want to ask them, hey, do a survey. How are we doing? How did this happen? And kind of get feedback on that, and basically get an idea of where the problems are or where you can get better, and then go to work on finding the solutions for that. What I've again, further to your question, there's a lot in that question, but further to your question on, constantly changing systems, the reality is there's not a one size fits all system that you'll never have to change ever again. That's just a fallacy. There are systems that you can maintain and tweak, that you can use, but you're always going to be tweaking systems. There's always going to be a way to improve on those, and you don't want to, let me just take an accounting system for instance. You don't want to change your accounting system wholesale, but and do that every year. That would become just chaos, and not good. But you're going to want to tweak some of those systems and saying we can do this better, we can get this report better, and all of that. And that goes for every one of your systems. If you can find something that is a system that you can build on every year, that's always better. But there's always going to be tweaks and changes, and always something that you're going to have to evaluate and saying, well, we can deliver better on this. We can create more movement this way. This is going to be more effective. And so it's always wise to constantly look at that and then do that with a core team, because part of the reason of doing it with your core team is you'll get their eyes, but you're also going to get their mouth when the change comes, is that they're going to be a part of that change, and they're going to be able to communicate that to the rest of your staff, customers, as to why any of those changes are being made.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's kind of like looking ahead and knowing what's coming, knowing what, or trying to predict, the future growth, and making sure that something new is going to be able to just be buildable, and scalable. That something will be able to fit your needs at, twice the size, kind of thing.
Right. So when looking ahead, as far as a business, the best way I think foresight is one of the most valuable gifts a leader can have. Is, whether that's business, church, whatever, the ability to have foresight and predict the future is going to make you, it's when you know what's coming, you're able to prepare for it. When you get blindsided, that's when your company gets hurt. Either that's when companies grow too fast and blow up, or they don't grow fast enough and blow up, is because a leader didn't have keen foresight. So I think there's three ways to really develop foresight. Number one, the first way to develop foresight is you need to be a historian. So if you can keep an accurate record of accounts in your business and saying, okay, over the last 5 years, we've doubled every year. Well, when I know that historically, and these numbers and these trends are there, when I know historically, I can know that we're probably going to double again this year, and I can have then foresight to be able to plan for what does that look like in the next year. or we doubled in the first 2 years and it's kind of slowed down and we're kind of at 30% growth now. I can maybe predict that we'd be 25% growth next year. So then I can plan for it. But I think a great way to develop foresight is to know your trends and historically understand, the market. I think the second way to develop foresight is to be an analyst. And in being an analyst, that's analyzing what is currently happening. That's analyzing your business. That's also analyzing the economy, the competitors that you're competing with. What are they, if you're seeing, trends downturn or upturn in either, in the economy or in competitors, chances are if I analyze what is currently going, I can be more accurate in my prediction of the future. And then the third way is just to be a prophet, which is you'll have a gut sense as a leader as to we're about to explode, or you'll have a gut sense, or we should probably hunker down because things are going to be tight this year, or whatever it might be. You'll have that gut sense, and so and lean on that. You can study the historical facts, you can analyze the current situations, but ultimately trust your gut as a leader as well. The best leaders have this gut sense that this is going to be a good year, or this is going to be a tough year, or whatever. And I know historically we've doubled, and I know analyzing we've had a great year, but I'm sensing that something's about to shift or whatever that might be, and you'll be able to then go with that as well. So I think those three in balance are, you don't want to make decisions 100% on your gut without having historical facts and analyzing current trends, but you're going to want to not ignore your gut and just go with the facts either.
Yeah, that's really good. And it kind of leads into another question they had was, in seeing this growth, we're pretty seasonal in what we do. So a lot of people work the season, come back for the next season. And because we're growing so quickly, and I kind of do the same thing in our downtime winter, there's significant change when they come back the next year, like significant black and white, or like night and day. And so what are some ways that when you roll those new systems out to organization wide before you've tested them in a really busy season, what are some tactics that you have or any advice that you have to make sure that rollout is really good, even though we know stuff's going to break and it's not going to be perfect as we get busy?
Right. One of the things that I like to do is I like to roll out change in layers. So that means that I'll roll out change with my exec core team first, and make sure and test it with them and get their feedback and input in the change. And then for us, we'll then roll out to the next level of staff of our team, and kind of do it in layers. And then you roll it out, and you just constantly get so if you have a core team that's with you even throughout the winter seasons, I'd get them highly involved in that rollout. And that way they can have a full understanding and grasp of it, because if it's just reliant on you to train all of the people coming back, that can be overwhelming and something's going to get missed. So if you have a core that can help you roll that out to the next level, then that's huge. And then you get the ones that have come back and know how you think they can roll out now to the level of new employees that are brand new to the organization. Let them roll it out to them, or help them, because they'll know, hey, this is the culture, this is what we do, and basically look at it in layers and structure your organization in layers and going, okay, who do I trust most? Let's roll it out with them first. Who's the next layer? Who's the next layer? And roll it out with that. Then what I would do for you is I would pick a time that, a very predictable time when the season's about to bump. And I would look at doing a 3-day retreat or something like that with all of your staff, and come back and basically get away with them, or have just meetings where you're not booking any clients in that time, and just 2 to 3 days you're unveiling basically the vision. You're reteaching the culture. The culture is how we do things again. And then you're going to be revealing all of your systems and saying, introducing people to their teams, who they're communicating with, the systems that are that are going to be implemented, and kind of do that as a wholesale thing. And the reason why I would do that is twofold. You can involve the people that already know, and they're going to get a repeat, but you're also going to allow for feedback and questions, and I don't know how that's going to work, and what about this? And you're going to get those questions dealt with internally first before it becomes kind of out there in public, where, they start questioning stuff in the middle of a job, maybe in front of a customer. That's not, you want that to happen, those questions and those pushbacks to happen with you in a controlled setting, rather than in, when it gets into the chaos of busyness.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It kind of looks like a 3-day training session. Like the way that we typically do is like a 3-day off the tools, low stress training system. And but inevitably, stuff's going to break for sure as it kind of scales, and scale by definition just kind of breaks stuff. How do you bring people on board that are implementing and doing these systems and running these systems, knowing that they're going to break, and trying to get them to have grace for the fact that things are not going to be perfect, and try and help throughout the process?
Yeah, I would, I'd be forthright with that right away in the training, and going, hey, this is, none of these systems are going to be perfect. We're working these out. But I would, again, in the casting of the vision, in order to cast effective vision, you need to go, this system is going to solve this problem. So to cast vision properly, you have to be able to define the problem that this new system is going to solve, and get them really anchored in and passionate about this system is solving that problem, very clear on what problem this system is going to solve, and then saying, and this is the solution, this is the best solution, and that we're a solutions-minded organization. We know that no system is ever going to be perfect, that there's going to be things, but we invite your feedback and your weighing in and your ideas in this, and where if they can take ownership of the system and they're passionate because this is the problem it's solving, they know the solution, but if they can also be passionate about, hey, we're part of the solution and we can be part of the solution of making this better, and Dustin's going to hear us and we're going to be able to solve these things together, they will become more proactive, I think, in solving the systems with you, rather than complaining to you.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. So going into that, so whose job is it as an organization gets better? Whose job is it to build and maintain systems? As we start to add more layers and stuff like that, I can't keep up with the number of systems that need to be built and especially maintained with all the technology we get used. So how do you manage all of that?
Man, that is a very, very loaded question. A great question. I think a lot of leaders are asking that question. I think one thing that really helped me, and because I've had that same question multiple times, is you get to a place and that the organization outgrows you as the leader. Like, you get to, as a leader, you're going to grow an organization, but then there's this tipping point, I think, where the organization, you can manage and you can lead, and you're entrepreneurial. So you started this and this is your baby and you're doing it. But you get to this tipping point where it's more than just Dustin's business now, that this is Valiant Solutions. This is a company that's much bigger than just what you're able to manage on your own. And you have to decide at that point, and I've heard this years ago, and it's so true, that you'll make money as a small business and you'll make money as a large business. It's the medium businesses that don't make money, and that where confusion happens. And if you have the guts to be able to kind of plow through the medium stage and know that, hey, this is the medium stage, because a lot of businesses will either say, okay, we're gonna go back down to where we were making money when it was just, me and a small team doing it, and we're going to keep it small, and we're just going to do that, and that's okay. There's businesses that do, that's okay. And there's other ones that are going, we're going to go large, and they're going to plow through the medium stage and just go all out large. And sometimes that works, not often that works. But to me, is identifying the stages that your business are in and knowing, okay, the hardest time to make money is in this season over the next 2 to 3 years of being this medium-sized business. And one of the tipping points that has to happen is in who the staff in which you hire are going to be there. And I would recommend, if you're in that, it sounds like you're in that tension right now, I would recommend looking at hiring an integrator or a manager who's responsible for the integration of the systems. That they're basically the detail person. You can be the visionary, the owner, the handling the big conversations and the big clients and all the rest of it, but somebody that's going to working on the details that frees you up to expand the business and do what you do best, and then have somebody that's kind of being that management systems person. And a great book for that kind of defines on who that should be is Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman, and it's a fantastic book on defining that the visionary is usually the entrepreneur, the founder, the starter. They have a certain gift set, and then there's the integrator that has a different gift set. And so if you're able to find that integrator that can, their specialty, they love developing systems, and then they also love executing on those systems. And it's one thing to develop a system, but the execution of that is the next step, right? So they love and follow through in that. So, I would recommend, reading that book and identifying your strengths as a leader. Are you visionary? Which, knowing, I know you, and I know that's you. You're definitely a visionary, entrepreneurial. That if you get to the size where saying it's going to cost me money right now that I don't know that I can afford, but if I hire this integrator, it's going to free me up as a visionary to then expand the business that much more while I know somebody's taking care of this. Or I can keep it small and I'll work the systems, but we're not going to be able to expand like we would if we didn't take this leap. So it's one of those, and there's not really a right and wrong. It's a tension that you're going to have to say, again, being that prophet of the future, if we do this, we can go to the next level.
Yeah, you totally read my mail with that one for sure. We're totally in that tension between like going through the easier years where we're smaller and we're kind of pushing through that at the moment. And I give everyone that visionary integrator test. And I actually found one of my operations managers, very high integrator. So he's in the right position, and kind of identified where I'd probably be driving him crazy all these years. So perfect. It puts some language to it.
The book does a great job of talking through the relationship between a visionary and integrator. There's always going to be tension between the visionary and the integrator, but it gives really wise advice on how to kind of, have, same page meetings on a monthly basis, for instance, where that's taking a day with just you and him and making sure that he's on the same page and you're on the same page with him and what's going on. These are invaluable suggestions in the book that I think are very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And so then to that question, it's one of the other ones I had was, how do you ensure systems are being used properly, hold people accountable, especially if there's a large number of people using them? And I guess that having that integrator would be that person who kind of leads, manages, holds people accountable well to using the systems. And is that kind of how it works for you guys?
Yes, you want to have that. I mean, everyone's accountability is going to be on multiple levels, right? But you want to make sure that everybody in your organization is being held accountable. So accountability doesn't mean just getting into trouble when things are going wrong. Accountability means, are we rewarding those who are winning? Right? That's accountability, because what you celebrate is going to get repeated. So are we rewarding those who are winning? Are we challenging the mediocre in our organization? That's accountability. And then are we correcting the problems? And is there clear correction on what those problems are, and those clear. And so you want to make sure that throughout the organization that there is accountability, because where there's not accountability, there's going to be a lot of drift from culture. There's going to be a lot of drift in practices, and then it inevitably what you tolerate is going to become your standard, and that's going to be determined. That so it's vital, if in a small organization that if it's just you, that you're holding yourself accountable for winning mediocrity, but if you've got a small team, that they're held accountable. If you've got a large team now, you have to find that there's got to be layers of accountability, that the person on the bottom of the totem pole is being held accountable as much as the person at the top. And so you definitely want to make sure that there's clarity on what that accountability looks like. And for you, like if you're at the end of every season, if there's staff that are they're only working for you for a season, at the end of that season, I would have a one-on-one meeting with them and then solicit their feedback on the systems and on the company and on the culture, but at the same time give them feedback on their job and make it clear to them that you want them back, or that or thank them for their service and for the season, and we won't be hiring you in the fall or in the next season. So that whatever that might be, but I would do those, whether that meeting is with you or with the integrator, but basically each person is having some sort of review period with their direct report.
Yeah. So then I suppose you need a system around collecting or defining what winning is and what mediocrity is and what failure is, and then a system of knowing who is and who isn't. So how do you guys do that? Knowing who's winning and who's not? Is it just kind of a results? You have some KPIs that you track for each person and you hold them accountable to that, or how does it work for you guys? Yeah,
you want to be able to very clearly define your wins, and I think that's vital. So set certain goals, have a dashboard. So basically in sports, I'm a sports guy. So I coach football, and I love sports because sports gives me a constant scoreboard, right? So, in a season, I have a win and loss scoreboard. So I know whether our team is good or not. In the middle of a game, I have a scoreboard. I know whether we're winning or not at any given time. So when it comes back to the corporate world and to the church world, sometimes I'm going, well, are we winning? Are we not winning? What's our scoreboard? So the more clearly you can define your scoreboards, your wins for each department, for each individual, and if you give them that, that scoreboard, that dashboard, and make sure that that's crystal clear for them, then they will evaluate themselves. The clearer that is, the easier it is for them to evaluate themselves in that. So when they have that conversation with you, they're going to know, I should be fired because I've had a losing record for the last 2 years, and I saw that coming, or I've been winning and I know I should be getting rewarded, and I deserve that reward, or I deserve that next opportunity, that promotion, because I've been winning. I've been doing what that is. So again, a great book. I don't know if, I'm sure you've read it, but if not, a great book on how to work all this is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. Is a fantastic book because it talks about accountability, defining how to work that, but then also how to develop a scoreboard or a dashboard that your departments, you have one for your entire company, one for your departments, and then one for each individual, and then that makes it crystal clear.
Okay, so then it's just a matter of having one-on-ones or whatever you want to call them to hold tension as you go through a year, to hold tension to results that on a weekly basis we're tracking towards the goals, and that's awesome.
Yeah, when I do meetings with my direct reports on a weekly basis where we go through our dashboard. So we have, I believe, it's 10 measurements that we evaluate whether we're winning or losing as an organization, and we review them every single week and just go through and saying, hey, this week we're on track in this one, and this one we're a little bit behind here. So what are we going to do to address that, so that there's not this big massive course correction, in a year, over a year, that we can catch something not working before it becomes a big problem, or we can celebrate something that repeat something that is working, without having to miss it because we were too late.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I really like that. And it's just so like black and white, someone knows where they're at and how they're doing, and define it. I think it's sometimes easier said than done to figure out what that number should be or how black and white, but I really like that. So, and
those weekly meetings don't have to be like crazy long, but and you're going, we can't afford, it's a busy season, we can't afford to have that meeting. We don't have time getting everybody together. It's like, it's invaluable. That meeting will save time the rest of the week, and going, it feels like we can't afford it, but truth is now I feel like I can't afford not to.
So when you have all these numbers, or like I think it's Rocket Fuel or Traction talks about rocks that people have. That's just basically their thing they carry and their what they're responsible for. And do you find that it just almost peer pressure holds everyone accountable to making sure those rocks are getting done? And you have that meeting all together on a weekly basis, or do you do individually?
We do both, but we do we do a weekly meeting, and everyone's like, the rocks that we're talking about, for those who might not be familiar with Traction, another great book by Gino Wickman, is he talks about rocks as being, if the analogy he used is if you had an empty jar and you had a pile of sand and you had water and you had, I think it was gravel and then big rocks, the order in which you put them in is going to determine whether you're going to fit them all in within that jar. And so if you start with the sand and, or start with the water and then add the sand and all the rest of it, like, you'll never be able to fit them all in there. But if you start with the big rocks, and then, you put in the sand and then you put in the water, everything would fit. And so what he's saying is the sand is your everyday, daily task, mundane, answering emails kind of thing. The rocks are your goals that you want to accomplish in the next, the big, audacious goal that you want to accomplish as an individual, as an organization in the next 3 months, next year, next 5 years. And then you determine those rocks. So when we have our team, every 3 months, we'll get together with our team and we determine the rocks individually, departmentally, organizationally. We'll determine the rocks that we want to focus on, that we want to accomplish in the next 3 months. And everyone kind of states in the team meeting, they state what their rocks, what their goal is in their job over the next 3 months. And that's made public, and there's 3 to 5 for each one. And then on a weekly basis, we go through our dashboard, but then we also have where they report on, I'm on track, no, I'm not on track on this one, to be able to accomplish that goal. And at the end of 3 months, they'll say, I got it done or I didn't get it done. And there is a bit of accountability for all of us when we do that. I mean, I do that publicly with them as well. And when you have to say, I didn't get that done this quarter, then there's a bit of an internal accountability for sure. That if you have somebody that's never getting anything done over a period of time, it becomes pretty evident to the entire team who's not carrying the weight. Right? So, there's definitely a peer accountability that happens with that system as well. Yeah,
no kidding. Well, that kind of leads into my last question is, I've been taught, taking courses, everything like that on block scheduling, prioritizing items, setting goals, doing all this stuff to just try and make sure I'm effective as a leader and person. However, executing my block schedule and all of that is not the easiest. It's easier said than done. So I'm wondering if you have any advice systems that you use that would help my mindset in executing my block schedule and what I have to do and the rocks I carry.
Right. Yeah. And there's times where I'll put everything into my calendar that I have tasks to do. Or I use iCal or Google Cal. Either one of them kind of allows me to color coordinate my calendar. So I'll have certain tasks or certain goals that I will assign a color to, and I put it on my calendar, and I'll make sure in a weekly basis that if I set a priority, that's somewhere I've got time in my week to put that into my calendar. And I will, at the beginning of every week, on a Sunday night or early Monday morning, I'll kind of review my calendar ahead and making sure that I've got block time or time available. The truth is, with our calendars, especially as leaders, is that we can design our calendars, or they're going to be filled in for us, right? Somebody else is going to design them for us. And so I like to, at the beginning of the week, design my calendar and block out some stuff that I need to make a priority on. And then to help me with accountability, to not break and fill in with meetings or whatever, I share my calendar with my wife. Has access to my calendar. My assistant has access to my calendar. I actually have members of my exec team that have access to my calendar. They see what's on my calendar, and if something is drifting or whatever, one of them is going to ask. And there's a bit of an accountability in that. It's like, even those that report to me, there's like, if I have to say, I got busy this week, there's part of it's like, oh, they're right. Yeah. And so that kind of helps. That kind of helps me as well. The other thing that I do that really helps with this is I actually have learned that if I do I call them think weeks, but I take a time in each quarter where I actually leave the office or go away and work on the business or work on the organization and think on the organization rather than just working in it. So I find by doing it quarterly, for me, it stops the landslide of things getting out of control, getting too much into routine, too busy, everything just begins to spiral. I found that every quarter it kind of does a reset for me, where I can be able to refocus on what my goals should be, that's going to benefit the business the best. And then I can begin to put the execution of that is put that into my calendar, have some accountabilities or checks and balances in that. So as to what's going on. And then when you get an integrator in there, the integrator is basically the first person that's holding you accountable on this needs to get done. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. I really appreciate all the answers to these questions. It's been awesome. So thank you so much.
We're excited for you and your business and what's happening in the future. And I just want to clarify that when you say the systems break, that's none of the ropes, that's none of the harnesses, those systems don't break. That's good.
Certainly not. Yeah, we've got systems to make sure that doesn't happen. So
that's awesome. Well, appreciate you, Dustin. Thanks so much for your time. And man, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
What a fantastic conversation with Dustin. I don't know if you were taking notes, but one of the biggest things I took away from that was the 3 things that we need to be in this season in order to foreshadow what might be coming down the road for our businesses. Number 1, we need to be a historian, and we need to look at the trends that were happening. Second, we need to be an analyst and be very aware of what is happening in today's culture. And then third, develop a prophetic instinct and use your gut instinct to get an idea for where things might be going. Such great advice. Parallel Leaders is here to equip you as an organization as well. And if you'd ever like to be on the podcast or be a part of the conversation, message us directly and we'd love to get in contact with you. Thank you for listening to the Parallel Leaders podcast. If you found this content helpful, go to parallelleaders.com/leaders and let us know the things that have been keeping you up at night about your organization, and maybe we could bring you into the conversation as well. Share and subscribe if you found this content helpful so that you never miss an episode. And we will see you next time on the Parallel Leaders podcast.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Parallel Leaders, where we help you target and evaluate your organization, leadership, or growth department under the microscope of 8 growth points to optimize your effectiveness as a leader.